Howdy folks, Little John out in the brewery with the brew dogs. They've snuck in, it's cold outside and they've come in for a break, haven't you? Hey? Anyway, 5 on Friday, just for something new. It's been a while since I've done an actual 5 on Friday, but here we are. I'll let you know on the secret, it's not actually a Friday. It's a chat. You gotta get on Friday, it's not Friday at the moment. Not that I imagine you really give a shit. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is sugar, dextrose, kit yeast, and stuff on those lines. Things that have always been considered, you know, taboo, evil, things we're told we shouldn't be using in our beer. Are they actually as bad as they're made out to be? Should we avoid them? Should we not use them? Should we use them? Let's have a chat about it. But before we do, cheers to Little John's Patreons. Thank you guys for your support. If you're interested, as always, link's down the bottom. Have a look. Couple of bucks a month. You support the channel, make sure all the experiments keep going on. Every month you get a chance to win some stuff. And every so often you get stuff for free, just for the hell of it. And it gives you a warm feeling inside just knowing you're helping out. Other than that, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you're not subscribed to Little John, hit that subscribe button. And next to that there's a little like button. Might be that side. Either way, it's a thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up while you're going. Let's get into it. With no props other than a nicely brewed XPA, let's go. Those things that we're told we shouldn't put in our beer. Now, there's plenty of them, and there's lots of things we could talk about not putting in your beer. But we're going to stick with the things that normally come up. And what has driven me to do this is, particularly recently, I've been doing with the extravaganza, and prior to that, starting to play around a bit more with actual kit-based beers, a lot more than I have previously, and mucking around with the ingredients and the processes. I've got to say I've probably changed my way of thinking a little bit on ingredients and additions for beers. Now, we're probably talking mostly kit beers, and this video squares up the kit brewers for the last video, where it was really aimed at well, it wasn't aimed at non-kit brewers. It was aimed at keggers, but anyway, I'm sorry, that's the whole idea that if you're not kegging, then you're not doing all grain. But anyway, don't really know where that train of thought was going. Give me a break. I've just finished work. I've been working from home all day. I got locked at home when we went down the coast weekend before. Apparently there's been some COVID dramas nearby, enough for work to freak out, make me stay home for the day and go and get a COVID test and work from home until I get a clearance. So I've been home working all day, and I've just sort of jumped from work, bang, straight into this. Haven't had a chance to even, haven't had to drive home to clear my head. But what I've discovered with doing all these is that some of these things that I have even bandied around and sort of claimed, don't use them, stay away from them. I've certainly changed my attitude a little bit. I mean, and it's not a sudden change. I mean, I have for a long time. Anyone who watches the channel knows that I recommend the use of dextrose, particularly dextrose, in certain quantities in beers. But what I've been coming across is that a lot of kit beers actually perform reasonably well with a decent whack of dextrose in them, as opposed to just a straight up malt addition. And as I said, I've always recommended the use of some dextrose. My recommendation for a long time has sort of been that 20 or 30% of the total fermentables coming from dextrose. So, 200 to 400 grams of dex in your sort of average, your standard 23 litre batch was what I've sort of always thrown around as a recommended amount. And as I said, starting to actually focus a bit more on the kits. There's Brewdog having a good scratch at the bloody. She's just got a new collar on. She's not real sure about it. So doing the kits, I'm starting to find that a fair whack of the kits, particularly the lighter styles, are benefiting from a larger amount of dextrose than I've previously recommended. I still, and by that I don't mean kilo of dextrose. I'm talking 500 grams or 50% of the fermentables, or in some cases 60 or even 70%. I still don't find that when you're getting into that higher amount, so if you start getting into that beyond that 70%, you get into that 80% range of dextrose to dry malt, you do start getting a quite a thin, lifeless beer that it can start to get some weird flavours. But I have been finding that even with the beers where it's being done 60-40, so like 600 grams dex and 400, even up to 800 grams dex and 400, so 75, actually no, that's 66-33, that sort of range, that you've still got enough dex to support enough malt to support the dex, and it doesn't seem to be giving winey flavours in any great abundance. There's cidery notes that you can get. Now, that being said, we're still talking brews that are brewed with quality yeast under temperature control, and in some cases now being brewed under pressure as well. That segues into another motion. That's yeast, the kit yeast. You see me quite a lot when if I'm doing a kit video and I'm brewing from a kit, I toss that bloody yeast away, or I'll throw the kit yeast into a hot boil and use it as a nutrient. I still haven't found any reason to change that advice. I don't think kit yeast. I will put a let me throw an asterisk up on that one, a disclaimer. I've not brewed a batch with an appropriate amount of kit yeast to really say that kit yeast itself is the issue. The kit yeast itself is probably fine if you're pitching enough of it. I think the biggest problem with the kit yeast, apart from some dubious storage methods and and how old it is, the biggest issue with kit yeast is just there's not enough of it. So if you were to pitch 23 litres or 23 grams of dry yeast, or somewhere in that vicinity, 3 to 4 packets depending on the brand of your tin, the manufacturer, then maybe you do produce a decent beer. And it's maybe something I need to investigate at some point. I probably should do actually. I might keep a couple of Might keep a couple of kit yeasts and actually do a tin with just all kit yeast, but in the right amount, just to see how it goes. But as I said, yeah, if you're using just what comes on the tin and nothing else, then you're never going to get a good result. You're going to make beer, and plenty of guys are making beer they're happy with. Happy subjective. For some people, they're happy to save money, and that's the extent of what it takes for them to be happy with a beer. I want the beer to be flavoursome and, you know, comparable in quality to some degree to what I can go and buy in the shops. If I'm not getting that sort of quality, then what's the point? I might as well spend a little bit extra money and go and buy bloody, you know, buy a carton from bloody BWS or whatever your local bottle shop of choice is. But I think you really run into problems when you start combining kit yeast with large amounts of dextrose. And let's take that one step further, where you've got guys that are using white sugar. I certainly hope that if you're a viewer of Little John and you've been here for more than 3 weeks, and you've watched more than half a dozen videos, that you're not using bloody white sugar, table sugar in your beer. I can't recommend it under any circumstance. I struggle to even push as far as recommending raw sugar in some brews. Ginger beer, yes. But for the most part, there's really not a beer that will benefit from, yeah, that sort of thing. From basically sucrose. Now, I get the dextrose is true, and I've had many of an argument with different people in different forums about sugar, and it's all sugar. It's not all fucking sugar. Sugar is a very broad term for a whole bunch of substances that form, you know, dextrose, glucose, sucrose, lactose. They're all forms of sugar, saccharides. White sugar is not the same as dextrose in any fucking way, shape or form, no matter what someone wants to tell you. It is a different chemical makeup, and you will get different results from using it. So fuck off white sugar, table sugar. The only sugar if you're going to add sugar to your beer, go for dextrose. I'd like to see people sticking with dextrose and malt, light dry malt, dark dry malt, wheat malt, whatever malt it is, but a combination of dex and malt to get their fermentables in their beer. Of course, this is if you're not using grains, you're not steeping grains and stuff to get your fermentables that way. I'm talking just straight up additions. I'm going to add to that Maltodextrin. Now, I, for the most part, sort of say, yeah, don't use maltodextrin. There's no place for maltodextrin in beer. And again, that comes with an asterisk, because there are, in very, very small amounts, some brews that can, you know, you can use the maltodextrin, but I'd still rather see someone using malt and sugars in a combination. Because maltodextrin is completely unfermentable, they leave it in your kit beers to add some body. And it's basically, originally comes from being added with just plain sugar, plain brewing sugar, so dextrose. Dextrose and maltodextrin, so you've got some body to counteract the hollow, empty bloody feeling your beer could get from just using dextrose. So the original brewing sugars, yeah, were a mix of 60 to 70% dextrose, sometimes 75%, and the remainder was maltodextrin. Yeah, so you'd still get a little bit of body with your increased alcohol. Over the years, enhancers have changed, and they've slowly introduced a malt into them. But by and large, they all still have maltodextrin in them, and I can't believe that at this time in bloody with what's known with brewing and all the stuff that's available, that they're just still wholesalely throwing maltodextrin into these mixes, and it's the main reason I don't like to see people use them. Because maltodextrin is doing stuff in your beer you don't need it to. You can achieve body by using malt in a higher proportion to your dextrose, and get it that way, and actually achieve some flavour and some character in your beer. Maltodextrin does nothing but just makes the beer heavier, which, like I said, apart from a couple of bloody brews and some darker ales, you don't really need it. I think I've probably used maltodextrin in one brew in the last 6 or 7 years, and that was because it was actually recommended by the brewer of that beer to use it in an extract recipe, and exactly for adding some body without affecting your alcohol content. So avoid it. Don't, if I've discussed it before many times. If you're adding your fermentables, buy your malt, buy your dextrose, buy them separately, and weigh them out individually and put them in. Don't just buy a kilo box of BE1, BE2, Brewing, Beer Improver, Head fucking Enhancer 1, Beer Developer, whatever fucking they want to call it. Don't buy it. Buy a bag of fucking malt, buy a bag of dextrose, and weigh them up. If you fucking, if you really bloody need to, go and buy a set of scales like this from bloody Big W, or if you can wait 4 to 7 days, get one from eBay. You probably pick them up on eBay for bloody $12 or $14 delivered, and they're under $20 at Big W. I don't know how much they are. I've had that for years. But buy yourself, get a fucking cheaper set of scales. Chances are the bloody missus has got one sitting in the drawer. Just steal it, because she doesn't use it. Lucky if 1% of fucking households in this country who have scales in their kitchen actually ever use them. So get yourself some scales and weigh them up. No? So all these individual things aren't necessarily evil. They have their place. I've just said not to use white sugar, but it's not evil. I'd prefer you didn't use it though. And let's bring this round full circle. Again, home brewing is at its heart about making the beer that you want to drink, or the beer that you want to make for your mates to drink, or your relatives, or your father-in-law, or your brother, your wife, whoever it is. And if making that beer involves the use of particular ingredients to make that beer, to keep that person happy, then do it. Anything that achieves the outcome that you want to achieve is not evil, not taboo, it's not bad. but from an overarching sense of trying to improve and trying to make the best beer you can. Those fringe things you don't want to get them in the beer. If you can avoid putting them in there in the first place, you got more chance of making a better beer. So no white sugar, table sugar. Avoid raw sugar. As I said, except for particularly like ginger beer, your hard lemonades, stuff like that. Maybe certain styles where a little bit of that extra molassesy edge that comes with the raw sugar, can be a benefit. But be careful with it. Brown sugar, I've got no problem with people using brown sugar, molasses, golden syrup, maple syrup, stuff like that in certain brown ales, porters, stouts, ruby ales, probably bitters to achieve certain flavours and edges. But again, use them as a support act. Don't use them as your main sugar. Dextrose, dry malt, whatever kind of dry malt it is that you need to be using. Play around with your dry malts a little bit. I've said it before, amber malt, the dark malt, wheat malt. Play around a little bit, just throw in a little bit of dark malt into your mix, 100 grams into a beer, some amber malt, or some a couple of 100 grams of wheat. You can just make that little bit of change that can change the character and can do good things. Not always going to do good things, but it can do good things. Sometimes it's worth playing around with. Kit yeast, I still really suggest just leave it be. Don't go there. Try and avoid it. Try to use good yeast. Because the reality is, you can't get 4 cans of kit yeast. If you've got 4 packets, you've gone through 4 cans, you've got 3 cans that haven't got a yeast, so you need to use some yeast for them. Maybe just spend the dosh on the free brews, keep the bloody yeast over, and every 4th brew you can use the kit yeast if you want. Every 3rd or 4th, and you can get a decent pitch that way. But try to use some good yeast. So, wrap it up. No ingredient is inherently evil. They can all be used. Just be wary how you're using them. And try as much as you can to use decent quality ingredients. Decent ingredients make decent beer. Crap ingredients have got far more chance of making crap beer. So, anyway, that's me. Done. It's getting dark. I need to go and get other shit done. That's me. Little John, I'm done. As always, any comments, questions down the bottom. If you use some crazy ingredients that you shouldn't and you get a good result, tell us about it. Patreon, again, cheers guys. Thank you very much for your support. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Hit the like button if you haven't done so. But that's me. 5 on Friday done for another instalment. So until I see you again, we're brewing beer, drinking beer, or we talking beer. Good brewing.